Hey everybody, I'm here at the Our Lady of the Angels Chapel. I hope you've seen some pictures of the altar on social media, but today we've got a special guest who's going to talk a lot about the altar, where the marble came from, a lot of the theological details on the altar. He's going to give you a ton of information. I'm really excited to talk to him. Come on, let's go check it out. Hey everybody, I'm here with Chris Duffel of Jackson and Ryan Architects. Chris was one of the architects involved in the Our Lady of the Angels Chapel. He specifically designed the altar and the area we're going to have the reliquaries, the shrine where we have the reliquaries. Chris, tell us all about this altar, everything that went into designing it, some of the cool things and features that you put into this altar.
Sure, yeah, so the altar is made primarily of Botticino Classico, which is a kind of creamy, kind of coffee creamer, color marble, all natural materials. There's three main materials, the Botticino Classico, the color of the Mensa, and the kind of field color everywhere else. The Rojo Alicante, which is a red accent, which you see at the front of the sanctuary and up by the tabernacle niche, which are accents around the columns and around the Agnus Dei in the middle, and the kind of primary carved elements, which are the angels on either side, which speak to the sort of patroness of our chapel, Our Lady of the Angels, and the Agnus Dei in the middle. Those are the kind of primary elements, and really in the middle there's the kind of focus, which is the symbol for Christ, who is the kind of focus of the liturgy, and the altar, who symbolizes Christ. And there you have the Agnus Dei, which is Latin for Lamb of God, surrounded by a halo with a vexillum in the back.
What's a vexillum?
Well, glad you asked. It's a thing to talk about in the interview. No, the vexillum is it's a kind of steed, a flag that the Romans would carry, talking about victories they would have in military battle. So you have the lamb who is both slain and victorious, where you have the lamb who is blood flowing from the side of the lamb. There's a cup in the front, the chalice, and then the vexillum in the back. So you have both victory and the kind of slain, speaking to kind of two primary moves of Jesus. And the lamb, if you look, is facing you. He's alive. He's very present. So he's both victorious and alive and slain at the same time. And he's sitting on the book, the seven seals of the apocalypse. So the lamb breaking open the seals, speaking to the kind of coming of the end times and the judgment. So all of these things are symbolizing Christ and his passion and death and his victorious resurrection at the kind of center of the altar. So, and it's flanked by ornamented Corinthian capitals, which you can see around either sides of the angel in the front and kind of around the back. And those are supposed to be the most highly ornamented. If you look around the rest of the space, there are other capitals and elements.
So those are those columns that we're seeing.
Right, the little sort of red columns.
Yeah.
And those are the most elevated, the most sophisticated detail-wise. So it's important to see in the architecture a kind of hierarchy of ornament and of sophistication. So the altar has the finest materials, the finest detailing, the finest sculpture, and everything moves outwards from that.
I see. So speaking of the materials, this marble came from Italy.
It came from Italy. Yeah, Pedrini is the studio that fabricated it. So I and my team at Jackson and Ryan designed the altar, and then we produced all the technical documents, sent those over to the studio in Italy, and in Pedrini's studio, they carved all of this and fashioned it, and we worked out all the details. And the Carrara marble, the white marble, is from Carrara, so they harvested it from the city, which is the namesake for the city came first before the marble came first before the city. And so they carved it and then sort of fabricated everything and shipped it, and brought it here. We had masons here in Houston build it. Beautiful. Yeah.
Any other cool details about the altar you want to share?
Yeah. So one of the detail that's really interesting that you can see in the rite of dedication of an altar in a church is the Mensa, which is the primary symbol of Christ, has carvings in it that are there are 5 crosses. There's one here in the middle, and there are 4 more around the sides. And during the rite of dedication, the bishop will chrismate the altar. He will spread holy oils around, specifically in these crosses, and will cover and sanctify the entire space. So the Mensa, which is the place of sacrifice, I mean, altars are where you kill an animal, specifically have wounds in the altar itself. So there's a specific sort of tie to Christ and his 5 wounds, and the Mensa and its 5 wounds as well, which is a subtle detail you wouldn't see unless you're standing on top looking down, but you can kind of see here the carved in. It's great. In the back, there is a relic chamber where we're going to have a relic of, I don't know, the relic reveal, who's been announced to go in there yet, but there's a first-class relic of is going to be interred in the altar during the rite of dedication. So this will be left open, and during the liturgy, the relic will be placed in, and then we'll, one of the aspects, it'll typically happens afterwards, but we'll literally place a stone here to mortar it in.
During the liturgy or after the liturgy?
After the liturgy, but when it's placed in afterwards, we'll, put it in here, and it will
never move.
It will stay there until the second coming.
Yeah. Wow.
Ostensibly.
Yeah. Very cool. Chris, thanks for all your work on the Our Lady of the Angels Chapel and for popping on our video today.
Great, thanks.
On top of all that, a bunch of our liturgical vessels just arrived at St. Anthony's. Check it out. We've got candles. We've got bells. We've got Brian Jones.
I don't know if you want to record this, but I do CrossFit.
So there you have it, a deep dive into the altar and some of those cool liturgical wares for the chapel. We're so excited to fill in the rest of the details of the Our Lady of the Angels Chapel. Thank you so much for your continued support and prayers, and we'll see you at St. Anthony of Padua soon. God bless. Are the angels anyone in particular?
Father David, actually, they were trying to get the pose, and he was like, just do it like this. I'm like, we'll take a picture.
No.
So we have a photo like this that has his particular head posture. Yeah, it's funny. I'll text it to you so you have it.
These angels are based off of Father David?
Yeah, actually the relic is